Hi, I'm Andrew Komazinski, and this is the third in a series of flips about academic writing. If you haven't seen the other two flips, please feel free to watch them. They're also on the same YouTube channel in the same playlist. This particular flip is about topic, theme, and thesis. So this is an important subject, especially for Japanese learners of English who want to write academic English. This is also a key topic for IELTS and TOEFL. Let's begin. So first, some background vocabulary. Statement, topic, theme, thesis statement, and mere fact. These are some of the key terms that will be the focus of this lecture. On the right-hand side are also some words that I'm not sure you would know. So recurring means something that happens again and again. Inclusion means to involve something, to make it a part of something larger. Social critique refers to when you are looking at things and you are saying what is right and wrong. Industrialization is the process of moving into cities, or more specifically, the process of factory work taking over for farm labor. Next, we have primary color, so this is either red, green, yellow for paint, or red, green, blue for light, gen ed, which is a word for kyoyo kamoku, and orbit, which is kido in Japanese, but means to go around something. Let's look at what we will cover in this presentation. In this presentation, we're going to review the steps of the paper writing process. We're going to look at the concepts of statement and argument. Then we're going to distinguish between topic, theme, and thesis statement. Finally, we will learn the properties of a good thesis statement, and we'll look at several examples, and we'll see why these are good thesis statements. So, as review, in the first flip, we saw all of the stages in the paper writing process. The first of these is to select a topic. The second is to identify key themes in the topic. The third is to produce a thesis statement. And the fourth is to develop an argument for that thesis statement. There were other steps as well, but these are the steps that matter the most for this particular flip. So we're going to look at them in a bit more detail and better understand the differences between topic, theme, and thesis. So they've been color-coded throughout the flip so that you'll see topic in that kind of lighter purple shade and themes in the kind of darker purple shade and thesis statement in green. Now a statement is something that could be either true or false. So let's give an example. Dr. K is 183 centimeters tall. This is true, and this could be either true or false. So this happens to be true. Second one, it is sunny outside. So this is something that could be either true or false, and let's just say that it's true. So it could be anything. It could be that the sky is red, which is false. It could be that the Earth is larger than the sun, which is false. It could be that the moon is smaller than the Earth, which is true. The important part is this is something that could be true or false, and ideally this is something that we could discover by looking in the world. So something that we could check, is this true or false, by looking at something in our world. So Western academic writing is all about making logical arguments. But the word logical is not always clear by itself. So this was in the second flip. By logical, we mean the meaning of each part is clear. It's concise, consistent, and concrete. The parts are connected. The order of these parts easily leads to the conclusion, and the role of each premise supports the conclusion. So again, premises are the statements that support the conclusion. Conclusion is the statement you want to prove. An argument is a series of statements where one is the conclusion, the others are premises that support the conclusion. Every Western academic paper makes an argument. Let me repeat that. Every Western academic paper makes an argument. This is what makes it an academic paper. The ultimate conclusion that an academic paper is trying to prove is called the thesis statement, or just thesis. So some Japanese students are not familiar with this usage of the word thesis. Again, the ultimate conclusion that you are trying to prove is called your thesis statement or your thesis. Now, in the process of paper writing, the first step is to select a topic. The topic is the general area of a paper. Some examples: child psychology, silver chemistry, constitutional law, 19th century British literature, flying squirrels, AKB-48. Any of these could be a general topic. A topic, however, is not an argument or a part of a paper. As such, it cannot be the thesis statement of a paper. So maybe you're taking a class on child psychology. Maybe you're taking a class on the Japanese Constitution. That's a topic. That's not a thesis. That's not something that can go into a paper as the purpose of your paper. In Western academic writing, never state the topic at the beginning of your paper. So I've read many things where someone begins, this paper is about child psychology. This paper is about Piaget. This paper is about Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. We never need this sort of sentence. This is because academic papers are arguments, and there's nothing argumentative in this type of sentence. Instead, your reader recognizes the topic from your thesis statement. So your thesis statement will help someone to know that you are writing about child psychology. So if you say that the age 5 is crucial to having the child develop a concept of school which will help them to learn, that is a thesis, and that would already tell us your paper is about child psychology. Next topic. A theme is a recurring and therefore important idea in the paper or work. For instance, if our topic is 19th century British literature, some key themes could be class, the British Empire, Queen Victoria, social critique, and industrialization. These are main topics that happened in the 19th century and that are highly integrated with British literature. Again, the key themes are important for being able to make a thesis statement, but themes by themselves would be very boring, which means very bad thesis statements. A good thesis statement for a paper is a statement that is not a mere fact, can be argued, and must be argued because it is not well accepted. So let's look at a few examples and see if this gets clearer. Merely factual statement. A fact or mere fact is a statement that is true and already well accepted. Here are some examples. The Earth orbits the Sun. There are fewer children in Japan than the United States. HUA has about 1,200 students. Exercise is good for you. The winter is cold in Hokkaido. Or the summer is hot in Okinawa. These are all things that are very, very obvious. You can see some stars from the northern hemisphere. None of these are very good. In contrast, a thesis statement is again something that is not a mere fact, can be argued, and must be argued. It's not well accepted. So for instance, general education classes better prepare teachers than education classes do. This would be a decent thesis statement. This is something that not all people would accept. Education should be free. This would be a decent thesis statement because education costs money, and there are many ways in which we have to think about whether this is a good idea. Similarly, Miyabe's view of women can be compared to the life stages of a mushroom. So this is a good thesis statement because it's not obvious, it's something that can be argued and something that must be argued. So if we combine these things, we're looking at a good thesis statement. So let's use topic, theme, and thesis to make a good thesis statement. So let's look at a couple things. So again, a topic is a general area. A theme is a recurring idea in the paper or work. A thesis is the statement you are trying to prove. So if our topic is colors, if we said this paper is about colors, I would give that a 0 out of 10. That is a completely meaningless thing to tell me. Let's say we do a little bit more work and we add in some themes. So some themes for the topic of color would be light, marketing, bright versus dull colors. So light, marketing, and brightness are key ideas to be considered in discussing colors. Again, this is going to get us a 0. This is very bad. Let's move up a little bit better in the world. Traditional companies should not use bright colors because people have divided opinions about them. So this is better in some ways. So let's talk about what makes it better. This is a claim. So this could be true, this could be false. That's a step in the right direction. Second step, it's not so clear, however, that this is not a mere fact because we're just saying people have divided opinions about them. That's not very strong. There's not much that you can really do with that. We would agree people disagree about things. Moreover, it's not something that must be argued. So let's look at one that's a lot better. So Toyota's logo should not be bright red because people associate this color with fire and loss. This is much stronger, so I give this a 9 out of 10. This is pretty strong. So again, in this case, it's not a mere fact. It's something that can be argued, and it's something that must be argued. Let's look at another example. So what if our general topic is food? So we go again with this paper is about food, 0. A recurring idea in the paper work, so different things in food. We have French food, Japanese food, Italian food, oil, grain, and meat. French, Japanese, and Italian foods are different because they are from different cultures in the world. I'd give this 1 point. This is very, very obvious. It's a mere fact. There's nothing really to argue here. No one disagrees with this. Let's go to something a little bit stronger, but not great. Japanese food is healthier than French food because it uses less oil. This is very bland, so it's not clear that this needs to be argued. Let's go to one that's even better. Even though French food uses less oil than Italian food, it is less healthy due to the use of butter. This would be a strong thesis because it says something that I wouldn't know, that's something that's not a mere fact, something that can be argued, and something that must be argued. Mere facts versus thesis statements. So let's do a little bit more work on this topic. Japanese stationery is popular throughout the world. Usually this is just a fact. Whether it's true or false depends on whether it's popular in the world. There's nothing really to argue here, so it's not a good thesis statement. Another example. Experts say exterminating squirrels is bad for forests. I would say this is a mere fact as well. In this case, a big problem is the use of experts say. So experts say means that we are not making a claim. So if I say experts say, I'm not saying I argue, I'm saying someone else argues, and that's not good. So we want to be the one making our argument. In this case, whether it's true or false would depend on whether experts say so. If we want to make it better, we would say something like exterminating squirrels is bad for forests. In this case, we make the claim, we now need to argue for it. If we say, experts have made the claim, we are just repeating. So you want to make your own claims. So let's look at an example of a good thesis and see if we can figure out why. So Japan would have opened to the West even if Commodore Perry had not arrived. Topic, Bakumatsu period. Theme, the opening of Japan. Key claim of the thesis, Japan would have opened without Perry. This is not a mere fact. This can be argued, and in fact this must be argued. So from these three things, we can say that this is a strong thesis. So we have a topic, the Bakumatsu period. We have an interesting theme, Japan opening to the rest of the world. But we have a claim that's not obvious. We have a claim that you'd have to show me a good argument. So maybe your argument is that Russia would have come and opened Japan anyway, or Japan would have sent boats very soon afterwards and begun trading on its own. You would have to produce evidence, you would have to make these premises believable. Let's look at another example. The educational advantages of using cell phones for quizzes in the classroom outweigh the associated risks. So we have a topic, cell phones in the classroom. We have a theme, so kind of pros and cons. If we stopped there, it'd be very weak. If we just said there are advantages and disadvantages to using cell phones in the classroom, that would be weak. This is stronger because this claims not just a mere fact that there are disadvantages or a mere fact that there are advantages. This claims that it is better to allow them in the classroom, and it gives an argument for this. It suggests that the benefits will be more valuable than any risks. This is something that can be argued, that must be argued, and that is not a mere fact. Let's move on. While commonly believed to disagree about everything, Kierkegaard and Hegel both believe the self exists as a relation. So this is close to my own research area, so maybe this is a hard topic to understand, but the idea to be a person involves having relationships with others. So the topic is Kierkegaard and Hegel. The theme is that usually people say Kierkegaard and Hegel disagree. My claim would be that on the nature of the self, the two agree. This is not a mere fact. This is not something obvious that everyone knows. This is something that can be argued and something that must be argued. So just to repeat that, a good thesis is something that is not a mere fact, something that can be argued, and something that must be argued. So some rules for thesis statements. So we'll look at this in more detail in a different presentation, but for now, one is to be strong. Thesis statements versus factual statements. So this paper attempts to prove high taxes are a bad idea. This is kind of weak. You don't need the word attempts. Just skip that. This paper proves that high taxes are a bad idea. Maybe that's scary. But the point is that when you write a Western academic paper, you have to both take credit and take blame for the things you're saying. So, for instance, same problem. This paper would like to suggest that English education is poor in Japan. So here we'd say, would like to suggest. You don't need any of that. English education is poor in Japan for 3 reasons. This is much stronger. Something you can argue for, something that must be argued for. Take a side. So this paper argues that losing World War II was good and bad for Japan. That's not good because anyone can say something has benefits and costs. Instead, this paper argues that Japan benefited more by losing World War II than it cost them to lose World War II. That's interesting. You've taken a side, now you have to argue for it. Now you have to say why the disadvantages are weaker than the advantages. So again, be strong, take a side. 3. A thesis is always a statement, never a question or command. So you cannot write a good Western academic paper by writing what are the different ways of evaluating intelligence. Instead, you have to say something like, despite popular claims to the contrary, academics have found there is only one way to measure intelligence. Finally, use active rather than passive constructions. So this is a grammar point. The economy was seen to have grown based on the increase in GDP. No. The increase in GDP showed that the economy had grown. We don't like passive statements because passive statements put distance between us and the claims that we are making. Instead, take credit or take blame. Say what you're going to say. Let's test how well you understand this idea. So we'll look at a series of theses and we'll see if it works. This paper discusses 3 types of rodents: giant flying squirrels, capybaras, and little lemmings and what they do to survive. What do you think? Is this a good thesis statement? Well, let's think about several things. 1, what's the topic? 2, what's the theme? 3, what is the key claim? And then, is this something that is not a mere fact, can be argued, must be argued? I would say this is not strong at all. So the topic, rodents, we have that. We have a theme, we have the giant flying squirrel, the capybara, the little lemming. Survival, maybe size. Giant flying squirrels and capybaras are big, lemmings are small. But we don't have a thesis. So this would be about a 1 out of 10. We're not saying much. We're hinting that we could say something when we say what they do to survive, but we haven't said anything yet. Next test. This paper is about Edogawa Conan. Again, what is the topic? What are the themes? What is the thesis? Is it a good thesis? 0 out of 10. Topic, Edogawa Conan. Theme, I don't see one. Key claims of the thesis, there aren't any. Alright, let's move on. These will be a little bit harder moving forward. Okita Soji, Saito Hajime, and Sakamoto Ryoma fought in the Bakumatsu period. Topic, Bakumatsu period. Theme, fighting, Okita Soji, Saito Hajime, Sakamoto Ryoma. Maybe the Shinsengumi. The key claim is that they fought. Now let's test whether this is a strong thesis. So we have, is it a mere fact? Can it be argued? Must it be argued? What do you think? This is quite weak because the key claim of the thesis is they fought. This seems to me to be a mere fact. There's not much that you have to do to establish that. No one argues against this. So therefore, it's not something that must be argued. Doesn't seem to be something that can be argued, and it's just a mere fact. Okita Soji, Saito Hajime, and Himura Kenshin were famous fighters in the manga Rurouni Kenshin. So I gave you the topic, Rurouni Kenshin. The theme, fighting Okita Soji, Saito Hajime, Himura Kenshin. Again, maybe Shinsengumi. Key claim is, we're famous. What do you think? This is a 0. Why? There's nothing here to argue. This is a mere fact about a manga. There's nothing here that we can say that's going to matter. Alright, 2 more. Most people outside of Japan who have knowledge of Okita Soji and Saito Hajime were introduced to the Shinsengumi by the famous manga Rurouni Kenshin. So our first question, can you tell me the topic? Can you tell me some themes? Can you tell me the key claim of the thesis? If you need more time, feel free to pause. Topic, knowledge of Japanese history outside of Japan. Theme, Shinsengumi. Key claim, because of the manga. In other words, people know this because of the manga. Now our question, is this something that's not a mere fact? Is this something that can be argued? Is this something that must be argued to be believed? Yes, this is a great thesis. This is great because it's not at all obvious that Rurouni Kenshin is what introduced people to this. I'm not saying I agree with the thesis. I'm saying this is a very good thesis. Because if someone wrote this paper, they would have to convince me. And it'd be interesting to read why they think they can convince me. All right, let's move on to one more. This paper argues that the case files of young Kindaichi portray detective work more accurately than case closed, or as they call it in Japanese, Metante Conan. So what do you think? What are the topic, theme, and key claims of the thesis? So the topic is detective work, the theme is manga, and the key claim of the thesis is that Kindaichi is better than Conan. Let's ask ourselves, is this something that is not a mere fact? Is this something that can be argued? Is this something that must be argued? What do you think? I believe the answer is yes. So I gave this a score of 10 out of 10. Why? Because whether I agree or not, this is something where you have to make an argument to explain why you think this is true. You have to show what makes this work, and this is not obvious. In the world today, Conan is more popular than Kindaichi. So you need to show the reasons why you think that Kindaichi is a more accurate portrayal of detective work. All right. Thank you for watching this particular flip. I think this one is a little bit on the shorter side, but it's very important. So I want you to remember that a topic is just a general area. A theme is a recurring and therefore important idea inside of that topic. But neither of these is a thesis statement. A thesis statement is something that is not a mere fact, something that can be argued, and something that must be argued. And when we write papers, especially in the Western style, we need to have a thesis statement. And that's going to be the center of the paper, and if you understand that concept, you'll have an easy time writing them. Now, I'm not saying that it will be easy to think up theses. This is a challenge for native speakers and non-native speakers alike. But this is the goal, and if you learn that this is what you want to do, you can train the skill and you can get better at it. So I do hope that you're having a good day, a good evening, or a good morning. Thank you for watching this flip.